In a word, no. What's going on, guys? Today we're going to take a look at the Pixel 3 from Google and whether or not it's worth its asking price. I just told you that I don't think it is. I think it's overpriced for the hardware that you get with the phone. I think the software experience leaves a lot to be desired, and I think it has the least amount of customization of any Android phone on the market, and that's obviously not a compliment. But it also does some things well, so let's go ahead and dive into why that is, and if you haven't used the Pixel before, maybe I can shed some light on why some people like it and why I don't. Before I do that, let me know what you guys think about this background, surface, whatever. This is my desk. This is what it usually looks like. I don't have the gray and white cloth that I usually put under this, so let me know if it looks good, bad. I actually want to know. Leave a comment down below. So since I don't want this to be a bash fest, we're going to start with what the phone does well. So I have 3 things the phone does well, and that's not because I was like, oh, I gotta find at least 3 things for this video. I think it literally does 3 things well. So the first, and that's it, the first, fast software updates. So super quick software updates from Google. Duh, it is a Pixel. What else would you expect? Next, the speakers. So you actually have some true speakers here, stereo speakers. I'll try to get the grills up close to the camera, turn off the screen so you guys can hopefully see them a little bit better. But it's actually stereo speakers, which means left channel and right channel. Not, well, we've got lows in the bottom and we've got some highs up in the top and this little piss willy earpiece speaker. No, you have some true stereo speakers. So Google gets an A+ on that. Third thing, the camera. And real quick, while we're on the back of the phone, it feels like a soft rubber. This powdered glass is awesome. I didn't want to get the black one because it apparently shows scuffs easily, even though they're not really scuffs, it's just residue, but the white takes care of that problem. So yeah, and the white and black two-tone gives a cool look in my opinion. Anyway, feels like a soft rubber. I really like it because I hate cases, and it's grippy. I love having a grippy phone without a case. But the camera's solid. Is it the best? That's going to be kind of subjective. It's a good camera. I really want to see what DxOMark rates it as. I really want to see what they do with the Mate 20 Pro as well, because that's also supposed to have a great camera setup. But yeah, great camera on the phone. So if you value fast software updates, a baller camera, dual stereo speakers or some good speakers, and the front camera, while we're on the camera, is also a wide angle camera, which if you like hike or run or something, you want to get a lot of background in your shot, in your selfie, front camera's pretty awesome too. So if those 3 things are important to you, then this is probably a good phone for you. I've got a buddy who those are the 3 things that he cares about, and he likes stock Android, so he bought one, he loves it. Now, we got done with the positives, right? Time to bash. Not really. I'm going to try to keep from ranting and keep this, as objective as I can. So I mentioned the hardware that you get for the money. You get a Snapdragon 845, which, yeah, you're like, it's the latest and greatest Snapdragon. Yeah, I know. It was back in March when the S9 launched as well. So you're not getting a real performance bump. I mean, it's a new phone, so if you're coming from an S9, maybe it feels faster because it's new, but yeah, not really getting a performance bump there. Next, you get 4 gigs of RAM. That's it. And Google's already come out and said they have memory management issues, which means they have issues with not having enough RAM, and they're going to fix it in a software update. I'm sitting here like, well, what are you guys going to do? Are you going to push an OTA update to solder more RAM to my motherboard? Like, I don't get it. What are you going to do? So, old processor, not enough RAM, and a 2900 milliamp hour battery. I think 2915 is the actual number, but not a lot. That's really 2900 milliamp hours. That translates to 4.5 to 5 hours screen on time for me. Now, what I do is I usually rock my phones around 50% brightness. I just turn it up a little bit so it's easier to see in the video, but I stream YouTube maybe an hour a day from my phone, maybe 2 at most. So yeah, 4.5, 5 hour screen on time, that's it. It's been really poor performance on the battery itself. And the charging, they don't have any proprietary charging, just the single USB-C port down here for the charging. They don't have proprietary charging like OnePlus or Huawei, so it's a small battery that also, it charges fast, don't get me wrong, charges fast, just not as fast as some of the competition, which sucks, especially since the battery is so small. So that's the underwhelming hardware, and we're going to kind of use that to transition into the software experience. So, I said it has the least amount of customization of any Android phone on the market, and that's true. Down here at the bottom, you've got these new nav gestures or whatever. You have this thing to go home, or the recent apps, or whatever BS, and then you've got the little back button bottom left. Every other Android phone that I've tried ever lets you swap these buttons around at minimum. At minimum, you can swap these around, and that's what I like having. I like having my back bottom right. If you don't, that's fine. It's preference. That's the point. Now, to jump to recent apps, you can either slide up there from the little whatever iOS looking thing there, or you can kind of like flick it to the right. Only the right. You can't flick it to the left and go back to the left, just to the right. It's supposed to go to your most recent app. Now what I'm trying to show you here, I'm trying to flick it and get it to jump a couple apps at a time. As you just saw, we're between 3 apps right now. But if you push this and you kind of like, if I can do it here, you kind of hold it down to the right side, then you get this menu and you can jump between all your recent apps, which as soon as you let this go, it lands on the app that you were on, not necessarily the app you wanted. So if you just want to open up this menu, you can't go in there and swipe like that. So that's pretty annoying. I would like to go back to the normal nav buttons at the bottom, but you can't for some stupid ass reason. Thanks, Google. And this isn't very accurate. Sometimes it flips to the most recent app, sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, sometimes it'll jump like 3 apps, and it's just annoying, it's frustrating, it's implemented very poorly. I wish I at least had the option to switch back. Next, the recent apps themselves. So you don't see a lot of information here. You just see one app there, right? And then you can slide, and you just see one app at a time. You can slide it away. And if you want to clear them all, you have to slide all the way to the end, and there's clear all. Why? Why? Now, I have my Redmi Note 6 Pro here to show you guys what I like the best. Now, full transparency, I love MIUI. I think this is the best implementation of recent apps. Look at that. You can see 4 things at once. Look at how much information you get on the screen. And you have a clear all button right there on the main screen. That X, you push that, everything's gone. It's done. It also has shown me how much RAM I was using in the top right corner. Let me show you guys that again if you missed it. My RAM usage right there in the top right corner. Now this also has 4 gigs of RAM. I just railed against this phone for it. This one costs $200. So yeah, not gonna knock them for 4 gigs of RAM if the phone's $200. So you just don't get a lot of information there. What I would like to see from Google is this is a Pixel, right? So this is the phone that your Google geeks get. So why don't you give me the option to test, like a beta switch that I can tick in my settings or something, where I can try out a bunch of different recent apps, where I can go back to the Android Oreo app, recent apps menu, or whatever, or switch around down here, maybe give me some experimental gestures, let me go back to the old buttons that I liked. And then sliding down here from the top, and clear that notification there. The brightness is all the way at the top. Again, a preference thing. It needs to be at the bottom, because usually, since I don't use auto brightness, I hate it. That's what I want to do the most, but it's not even in that main menu. I have to slide down again. So that's cool. Not really. So the other thing with the software is this phone has lagged and froze and stuttered on me within the first week of having it. Really more like the first 2 or 3 days. Fresh out of the box, wasn't using it intensively, actually tried to switch to my most recent app, and the phone just froze. I have not had an Android flagship freeze on me in 2018. That's not an exaggeration. Haven't had an Android flagship freeze on me in 2018. So even for this price point, even running stock Android, even with the 845, which is a solid chip, albeit old, you're not getting the best performing phone. You're not getting the smoothest experience. If that's what you want, you're not getting it here for $800. What the hell, Google? Like, like you're getting a tiny battery, old processor, not enough RAM, a sheer lack of customization options. I'm running Nova, it's Android, you can run Nova, but you can't rearrange these buttons here at the bottom, and that's a huge thing. You use those all the time. Can't do anything other than rearrange these icons at the top. Again, pretty big thing. And it's Google, so why not? If your target audience is Google, if it's the nerds that love stock Android, if that's your target audience, why don't you give me a bunch of options in the settings where I can enable something and go in and tinker with things like that? It just makes sense to me, but I guess it doesn't make sense to Google. So, to recap, highlights of the phone, because I'm just going to keep ranting if we don't. Highlights of the phone, fast software updates, camera, and speakers. And the back of the phone feels pretty cool. Lowlights of the phone, literally everything else. Not the best performer, not the smoothest phone out, grossly overpriced. I mean, it is grossly overpriced. Still no headphone jack, lack of customization, can't change anything in the phone. Why, guys? Why Google? But what I will say is, if you want to pick one of these up, look for a BOGO deal, some kind of deal. I got it on Black Friday. It was $150 off. What the new thing seems to be is Samsung and Apple and Google also have done this. They'll price their phones astronomically high for what you get. All three of them do that, so I'm not just picking on Google. And then they'll offer like a BOGO, buy one get one half off, or buy one get one free, or something like that. So Verizon was offering $400 off on a Pixel. I don't have Verizon, so I couldn't take advantage of that deal. But $400 off on a Pixel 3. I've seen some deals on Google's website, obviously $150 off. Same with recent Samsung phones. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want one of these phones, just look for a deal. Don't pay $800 for it. You can probably go on Swappa if you didn't get the deal and find somebody who's selling one brand new because they got the deal and just want to make a couple $100. And you're still saving a couple $100. So it's a win-win, right? So anyway, guys, that's been what I think about the Google Pixel 3. Again, not a full review. Just, is it worth the money? No. Not when you've got the OnePlus 6T for a couple $100 cheaper. Not when you've got Xiaomi putting out phones for $200 that offer a smoother user experience. I mean, albeit camera's not great, it's compared to the Pixel 3 and other things like that, but that put out a great user experience. So let me know what you guys think of the Pixel 3. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Am I crazy? Is this overpriced? You know, the target audience used to be the nerds that love Google, right? And I used to be one of them, but it seems like they've deviated from that pretty far. Let me know what phone you guys want to see me do next. I got the OnePlus 6T on deck, and I get a Mate 20X here in a couple of days, so I'll be doing some content on that if nobody else has any suggestions. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.